All right, everybody, we're gonna go ahead and go live. Let's switch over. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Blak Magus, and I'm here with my boy Cardiac. What's going on, sir?
It's been a long time.
I
I
know
feel
we're
like we're
actually.
we're doing the reboot. We're the the sequel nobody
I
wants.
know. You know what? Let me start that over. No, I'm not gonna start that intro over because I'll just pull it off Twitch. We're not gonna worry about making a separate recording. Although I feel like I should back it up because you know setting this up has been a chore. Let me tell you. So, yeah, yeah, it has been a chore. But it's been a long time. Glad we're back and glad we have something to actually talk about that has us both excited. So it's a good way to start back into doing podcasts, and hopefully this will be a regular thing. Um, I doubt we'll do the political podcast anytime soon because I don't want to talk about politics because I need to maintain my health, my heart. Um, yeah.
I confess, I'm usually about like a few days behind on news and
Well,
nowadays
yeah,
anyway.
and you should be like a few years behind at this point because it feels like years. Um, and we'll probably get into a little bit of politics, sadly, because of the movie that we're talking about, Superman. Because there are some things that I noticed, and I wonder if other people noticed too. I'm sure they didn't because people only see what they want to see. Um, Real quick, so while I was at the theater we were at, I actually wasn't at a theater. We were at a museum, but oh, it was cool to go see Superman in a national museum on the largest screen in our area. Um, it was amazing. I was happy to see it in IMAX, but I had on a T-shirt, and I cannot remember the exact phrasing, but it says I got vaccinated, but there's still some of you that I don't want coming near me. Something to that effect. And everybody loved that shirt. Of course, there were a couple of people who were giving me evil stares. One particular person who gave me an evil stare had on a Superman movie. I mean, Superman T-shirt. So I'm pretty sure he's one of those people who did actually get the points that were being made in the movie because he's probably like most people. We don't really understand what Superman is about. Um, it's not truth, justice in the American way, y'all. I'm sorry. That was something they made up for the TV show back in the day. Anyway, oh,
It's funny, just real quick. When I've been reading some Superman comics, I have noticed they don't say American way. like like you'll say truth and justice, but they always conveniently leave out the
exactly,
American
because
way.
it wasn't necessarily the point. And it's funny how the movie actually points out why that shouldn't have been the point too. See, it's this movie to me. Let me just start off by saying like my general feelings, and you go. Then we'll get into the details because it is so
Sure.
many like directions we can go with this conversation. We did it last night online. Like it's so many things to point out and talk about in this film. But my general thoughts was I thought it was amazing. Um, and I think part of it is like I could honestly say that I may be overhyping it only because I was just totally impressed that we actually got a Superman movie. Like, and that's not to say that we haven't before. The Christopher Reeves movies always stand out to people, but I feel like even in comparison to Christopher Reeve, this kind of like pushed a little harder in being like a complete Superman movie, like going all in on the character and his traits and even his parents. Like I I think James Gunn did a spectacular job of reflecting the characters. Um, I don't think anybody who has that complaint about like comic book movies never really capture who the person is. They always, and it's funny. I heard somebody say this on a podcast I was listening to, and I think I agree with them. Most comic book movies usually take the characters and take their characteristics and put them in and adapt them to the world we live in. Whereas this movie, was that you who sent me that? I think it was you.
Yeah, it was.
Now that I think of it, yeah,
I was taking something a actually pretty prolific comic book writer was talking about. It was Mark Waid that
yeah,
I was probably butchering.
yeah. But like the whole thing about how like they usually just take a character, put their characteristics in our world, where this movie actually puts us in their world. Um, you know, it doesn't deviate from what it is. It's a comic book movie. It's in a comic book world where fantastical things happen and these characters do fantastical things and everybody around it doesn't like, you know, for the most part, they don't, you know, they don't make it seem like, oh, this is something new. This is something out of the ordinary. It's like this is a part of the world, and I think that's where that movie really benefits. Is that he didn't just like do what he said and just start it with everybody just already being there. He just basically said, "This is what it is. You either gonna like it or you don't." And I respect that because, yeah, it didn't try to like build you like acclimate you to it and all that. It was like from the beginning to the end, you were in this story, and you could say that in effect, it was like reading a comic book because comic books don't do that. They don't hold your hand and guide you through. So, yeah, I really really appreciate it. Love crypto. Um, love the other characters and how he utilized them. Um, that was well done. It was just a well done movie all around, and it's a good start for DC. It's a good jumping off point. Much better than their last go at it. So,
Yeah, I guess we'll have to
WiseGuys.
talk about how it compares to the previous batch in a bit.
Oh, we are going to talk about it.
Um,
We going to talk about
but before, yeah. Before I have my general thoughts, I just want to hit this because I hadn't thought about it till you said it, and I'll forget if I don't now. But that point about like how when you read a comic, it doesn't necessarily hold your hand; you're just kind of dumped in. It is a fascinating point, right? Because I think a lot of people get a little, who might be a little interested into reading comics, they get a little, trepidatious, a little nervous because they think they have to know all this stuff going in. And if you ask anybody's advice, like I literally saw a post about this like a couple days ago. They were like, "What advice would you give new readers?" And they said over and over, a bunch of people said you don't need to know everything going in or anything going in. A lot of those worlds are just in motion, and you can jump in. And I find it interesting. You would say it's a similar thing about the movie because I do think it has that same vibe where, yeah, you don't really need to know anything. You will pick it up as you go along because these are worlds that have been here for a long time.
it. Yeah.
So well done there. As for general feelings about the movie, because I've been known to gush endlessly, I remember thinking a few days ago, how would I sum it up in one sentence? What I liked about it. And there's like two key words in that sentence I've been using. I've said I like that it is unashamedly and uniquely a Superman movie. And the two words being unashamedly and uniquely. So when I say it's unashamed to be a Superman movie, it's to your point about it not shying away from just being in the superhero genre and not feeling like it needs to tone much down or clean things up. So I'm speaking to somebody who many years ago, for you guys who remember the live action X-Men movies, when I was gonna say when Hugh Jackman was Wolverine, as though he still isn't. God, it's such a fucking long time. But you'll remember those movies where they felt the need to kind of put him in black leather instead of doing the more colorful costumes, right? There was this just era, especially in the early 2000s, when black leather was sexy for everything because shit like The Matrix
It
was
was the
out there.
'90s too. Yeah, that was another
Uh,
thing.
yeah, late 90s,
See
early
Batman.
2000s.
See Cronenberg's Batman.
Right, there's this. I mean, some of it is just American entertainment culture was all leaning that way, so it wasn't just superhero stuff, but there was a push to kind of tamp down on some of the sillier aspects, and that's always happened. Like to your point about crypto, there was a point in DC Comics where they tamped down on the animal sidekicks. So if you're like looking at their publication history, there is a time period where crypto is not really in books because of that kind of attitude. But you look at this movie, you have a super dog, you have Superman in his red underwear, you have space rifts and cyborg monkeys and all sorts of madness, and nobody. I mean, you look at the general audience reaction, right? Nobody's really put off. I feel like when people make any kind of nerd culture thing, but especially comic things, they're a little too self-conscious and too worried about what their reaction will be. That people are gonna like look down on it. They get to be a little self-deprecating.
Yeah.
But this movie didn't do that. It just was genuinely what it was, and let the audience acclimate, which they did very quickly, and it's all good. Like people are too worried about how things look. And when I say it's uniquely a Superman movie, what I meant was I love that how this movie went, and we'll dig into it deeper in a bit. It felt like it could only really be a Superman movie specifically. Like you couldn't do a lot of these things in a Batman movie or if I want to go more obscure, like, like if you were gonna do, I think they're supposed to be doing a Sergeant Rock movie or something. I don't know if that's still on
Wait,
the table,
really?
but like
They're
you
gonna
couldn't
do a
do it
Sergeant
there.
Rock movie?
I don't know if it's. I've heard some rumblings about whether that's still good. I think it's still on. I think they might have had some trouble with some writer or director or something. But yeah, they're doing that. We're getting a Clayface coming up that's supposed to be a little bit more horror based. Swamp Thing. If I was to fan cast, like, but my point is like this movie and all the things it did and its vibe only work in Metropolis with Superman, right? Like you couldn't do it in a Batman movie or anything else like that. And I think that's good. I'm not saying this to attack the MCU, but as much as I loved a lot of movies in the MCU, there was this tendency they had just as a company to make those movies kind of align stylistically, you know what I mean? In a way that
Oh,
I didn't think they
definitely.
needed to. If you read comics, like I'm looking at my own shelf right now with some of my big collections, a lot of these books have very different vibes, and it's fine. It gives variety. It's I would say why have a big ass universe with so many things in it with such a large history if you're gonna limit yourself so much to the kind of stories you can do. So this made me excited because if somebody came in and they don't like this movie, that's fine. It has a very particular vibe. But I assume DC will produce something else that they might like.
Yeah,
I
you
don't think
know,
every movie should be for everybody. I should say.
no, it shouldn't. But also, kind of look at it like sci-fi. Sci-fi never tries to cater to anything but sci-fi people. But you look at something like Star Wars, which blew the hell up when it came out because of how well people thought it was. You can just, I mean, they didn't try to do anything fancy to make it relatable. Because I think what a lot of companies miss about any genre of film is that more than anything else, when it comes to your like piece of entertainment, it's the writing that's supposed to relate more than anything else. All the Guy Gardner and Green Lantern powers, Mr. Terrific, you know, being supposedly being this super genius that can create these crazy like spears that do crazy things and all that. Like that's just like the oohs and ahs. Like if you got a good story or you have a relatable story, it don't none of that stuff you shouldn't have to shy away from. Yeah, doing what you want to do as far as what's in the realm of your genre. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. I've always said the genre or medium, if you're talking comics, that's just a setting. Like you can tell a love story or a story of vengeance or friendship or whatever kind of story. You can pick up the core of that story and drop it into any genre and it works fine. Nobody bats an eye, really.
Yeah, it's like
Some of
why do
them
we
might have a little
love?
culture shock, but yeah.
Yeah, why do we love? Or why did we love Arnold Schwarzenegger movies? Because he did crazy stuff in a simple, basic story. Like, hey, I'm going to get revenge for this. I'm going to fight this. We always love to see the hero save the day. That was the premise, and we love to see him save the day. And just seeing him pull somebody's arm off, or you know, all that dumb shit. Well, it's like you shouldn't be. How is it that you can complain about the goofiness of comic books? Which, as somebody who used to read comics and is a fan of comics, I will tell you, like I tell you all the time, comic books be dumb. They do some dumb shit. They do some wild shit. But that's the point because it's a realm where crazy shit happens, crazy shit is done. You know, you're there for the ride, and more importantly, you're there for the story. You know, but y'all can do this with Arnold Schwarzenegger being in speedos, running up on the beach, and then putting on a flat jacket and some cargo pants, and murdering an entire army by himself. That's okay. Commando's okay. Which, and I'm not knocking Commando because I love Commando. That's one of my favorite. That might be my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Cause that was just ridiculous. He really just swam up on the beach and killed a whole army. That was wild. That was awesome. But so I don't know. It's weird how people like to put certain things in certain holes.
Can I just say too, as a comic book nerd, I guess there is a benefit to it. Like it's not just like oh, comics do weird, goofy things, but like they don't matter. I think the fact that they do such goofy things too, I'm ignoring some of the worst goofy things, but the fact that their universes are so insane means pretty much everything is normalized in them, and they have this benefit, which is why I was saying I was a little upset with how Marvel handled it. There's this benefit, like this freedom that those universes have because they are so crazy. You can do time travel. You can do. I'm not saying I want this, but you can do other universes. You can do a western. You can do it in space. Like there's no real rules. Uh, I hesitate to say this, but for anybody who does read comics or maybe wants to get into some, there's this indie series called Astro City that I've loved. It's basically set up in a similar kind of like superhero universe, and it tells these anthology stories. So it'll just like pick a random hero or villain or just like a random citizen in the world and tell a story from their perspective. And because it is this superhero world where all kinds of crazy shit happens, you can just tell the most interesting out there stories. Like I think there's an actual benefit to really embracing it and not trying to fit it into the mold with other things, so to speak.
But like one thing that I guess not to get too deep into spoilers, but kind of say. By the way, for those who haven't read the title, this is a spoiler cast. We are going to talk about like plot points, moments, and things like that. So if you have not seen the movie, do not listen to this. Do not watch this because it's going to spoil the movie for you. But one thing to me in the movie that really showed like they were just like you're in our world and this is the way it is and it's the way everybody else sees it and we're not shying away from that. The part where things start to like be falling apart after Lex sets off the um, rift, and they're in the Daily Planet trying to get together the story to send out. And Perry White is just like, hey, that ship that you just flew in here, Lois, is it still working? Yep. All right, let's all get on this ship and let's fly up and then send the story from this and work on it and send the story from this. And so everybody's like, all right, let's with it. Everybody got in the fucking, like, basically flying machine that Lois didn't really know how to fly, but, was able to, like, control somewhat. And nobody shied away. Nobody, it's like, there was no, like, we're getting in a what? Like, is this real? No awe at this thing existed. They just all were like, yeah, let's go. Get on Mr. Terrific's ship. And the most that you got was Perry saying, hey, how many people could fit in it? 6? Cool. All y'all, you, come. Let's go. No hesitation. It was like, yeah, we're going to fly us 6 reporters in a superhero ship.
The benefit of having a
And
world
write
where
an
people have
article.
seen shit, yeah.
Like, they literally wrote, edit, and published an article in a fucking ship. In a, like, fantastical sort of spaceship. But that's the world. That's what you do. All this stuff exists. All this stuff, it's
For those who might be a little confused by that point, think back, especially to the early MCU. That might be a little harder to see now that it's been running for a while. But in the early MCU, there are basically no heroes, at least in the present day, right? You get Iron Man, you get Thor, you get, I don't know, Cap. I don't remember the order, but you basically get like
yeah. It was
heroes
Iron
introduced
Man.
one at a
It was
time.
funny. It was Iron Man, Hulk. And people forget Hulk was the second. It's so sad. Poor Hulk. It was Iron Man, Hulk. I want to say Thor, then Iron Man 2.
Sure. And then over the years, you get,
Yeah,
more
and
interesting
like
additions, I
it
guess.
starts building
Doctor
and building and
Strange,
building.
Ant-Man.
But it was like when you go back to Iron Man, what did you see in Iron Man? You literally saw like them build the character and build him
Right.
in the
There's
modern
nothing
world.
like that
He
that
was
exists
literally
in
in the
that
Middle
world.
East in a hot zone like we have here today. Like, and that was where his origin, was. It wasn't like he was the guy in the suit who was fighting people. He had to come up and they had to grounded it.
Sure. And then again, to your point about the reaction of people in Metropolis versus the early MCU citizens, there was no such thing as like an Iron Man armor or people flying around in the sky at that point, right? So you'll see a lot of citizens in the early movies react interestingly because such things didn't exist. Nowadays, there's a lot of heroes running around in that universe, so it's a little closer to this kind of thing. But
Right. Whereas in
this
this,
new jumping onto what the DC universe, we skipped all that. I guess, hop slightly into
oh,
spoiler territory. The first couple minutes, they give like a Star Wars esque kind of scroll test to explain basically the history of this universe. They explain, I don't remember the years, but like
it was something like
decades before
30
at
years,
least.
3 years, 3 minutes, three, like, I love the 3 thing. But yeah, it was basically, like you said, yeah, they just,
I mean, yeah, they establish definitely well before Superman that like what they call metahumans. That if you read DC Comics or I guess you can watch their cartoons, you're familiar with that term. Basically, people with powers had kind of shown up and proliferated uh, across the world, essentially. So that they explain that this is a world where people have powers and the citizens are used to that even before Superman. And then he became, obviously, he grew up and had his regular story. He's only been active as Superman in the public eye for like 3 years, I think it is.
right.
So yeah, like you get a much different interaction with the general citizens of the world because a lot of them have grown up with this shit around,
Yeah, and it's like,
especially in Metropolis.
the first fight, when he goes back into the fight, you just see that dude. I forget his name, by the way. That was fucked up, but we'll get there. You see that guy talking about, like, you saved me and you said you love my falafels, so I'm gonna help you out. He was like, he wasn't afraid to go like pull Superman out that hole, and everybody wasn't like really running from the fight. They were like trying to stay out the way, but they were just standing there watching.
I found that fascinating too. Like when I watched them not running, and it took me a second to process. Like, I guess if you're used to having Superman around, you probably wouldn't run.
Right? It's like
Like,
let's see, Superman's gonna take care of this shit. Like they know when to run.
right, like when the giant monster starts falling over, like, oh, we're gonna get crushed. But outside of that, like, yeah, they're not particularly worried. I mean, they're worried. I shouldn't. I don't mean to make it sound like they were uninterested in their safety, but like, there is a certain normalization that's clear when you watch them.
No, it was just more of a like, oh shit, it's like when you see the police go down the street. Like you want to get out the way, but you're also looking like, what's going on though? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like what's happening? Like oh shit, something's going on. Let me get over here, but let me get over here across the street and see what's going down. It's like that. It works so well to just know. And I said it to you last night, and I think one of the biggest advantages, of course, is that it's Superman, who's probably the most well-known comic book character ever. So
Indeed.
it works for people who aren't really into comic books because you don't need to be into comic books to know Superman and know what he's about and to know who Lex Luthor is. And all like it was a regular it was a regular TV show back in the like what 40s 50s. He's had regular serial movies. He's had multiple cartoons over the decades. He was in newspapers. The comic was like Superman is like probably you know Superman is just as well known as any other like storied media, like probably more known than Huckleberry Finn or Mark Twain writings or anything like that. You know what I mean?
It definitely is. He's easily one of the most recognizable figures in the world.
Yeah,
Maybe
everybody
behind
knows
like
that
Jesus or
ass.
something. Like,
Everybody knows that ass. Like that ass is the dumbest person in the world can get every answer on the test wrong. He will not get who wears this ass wrong.
there is that. Yeah, I mean, yes, he has the benefit definitely of being already recognizable. But I mean, like I said when we spoke last night, the other characters don't, and they work out just fine.
Yeah. And back to the point that I was making earlier too, is it's like other genres don't do that either. Like again, we didn't know who the fuck Luke Skywalker or Han Solo or Princess Leia was, but they became legendary characters because of how much we enjoyed those films. So yeah, you don't need to. But I'm very glad that we didn't go through the Smallville story though, because yeah, we had like how long was that TV show on? You literally sat with like that story for almost 10 years. If you don't know it by
I've only seen a
now,
couple episodes. Yeah.
if you don't know it by now, you'll never know it. Yeah, you will never know it. Like it's wow.
I believe the guy that punched him you're referring to was, at least in the beginning, referred to as the Hammer of Baravia or something like that.
Yeah,
Some, it's gonna sound racist, but just some generically foreign name. Let's be honest.
yeah. They did really go like um, them and their. I liked how he did that though, because it was kind of clear what he was kind of heading to, like basically the Middle East struggles and the U.S. involvement and all of that. That country was like an amalgamation of all the countries that like extreme left wing people want the government to do something about right now, basically.
It
And that guy was definitely Netanyahuist. I'm sorry. The president of the country, he's definitely Netanyahu. I feel like that was how they think Netanyahu looked. I'm sorry.
I'm going to avoid agreeing with that because I don't want him to get me. But oops. I mean, certainly did have the political undertones for reasons. Um, there's so much to touch on with just that. 'Cause this might be a little early to hop to this point, but I really loved the discussion slash argument between Lois and Clark around his interference. So basically, he interrupts this, interferes rather with this foreign conflict, stops. I don't know what was supposed to be happening there, some kind of attack, maybe a genocide, essentially. And Lois and Clark had this argument about, whether that was the right thing to do. Maybe Superman acted a little too rashly, not considering the long-term consequences of the bigger picture consequences of what he did. To him, life is very simple. People were in trouble, so I've got to help them. Uh, I mean, it's fun I shouldn't say fun. It's interesting and important on a philosophical, maybe political level. But it was also just really good relationship drama. If you know what I mean, like the way they argue, the way I think Lois says something like, "I knew this wouldn't work out." Like just it's like what 10 minutes or something is just them talking, and I think it's one of the best scenes in the movie. It felt like a real relationship with actual drama in it.
It did. And that's one of the things where I said, like, we probably would get political with it, too, because that conversation was very reflective of the conversations that we have or we should be having, like, right now over certain events. Because, you know, yeah, I'm with Superman. You need to stop that shit. But again, it's not that black and white and that simple. And Lois was that, devil's advocate that was letting them know, like, hey, I get it. I'm with you, but there's more to this than just, hey, bad guy does this, good guy's supposed to stop it, and that's it. In the story. It was I found it very fascinating, like, how she was a person um, who was that, like, the world is gray, and you need to stand that to him, and you need to be careful. And she wasn't saying. The thing I love about it was she wasn't saying it necessarily out of malice or trying to put him in his place. It was really out of concern because she was like, "Yo, you might." It was like she was foreshadowing what was going to be happening, in the future, as far as, like, people may not always see it the way you see it or the way you feel that it is, no matter how well meaning you are. Yeah.
Who said it? It might have been Gunn, actually. Somebody was talking about the difference between the two of them in that scene, and they were like, and I think it lends to both their characters well, where she's very, as her profession dictates, focused on the truth. Like they both represent good things. She's focused on truth and being pragmatic. He's focused on a more I wish I had pulled up a quote or something. A more general good, right? I think somebody said like in your heart you want to agree with Clark, but in your head you would agree with Lois. Like, they both had these valid standpoints essentially that were
Yeah.
butting against each other, and it gave Lois some characterization, so she's not just woman standing there who exists in Clark's world. She's not just a love interest. She has her own thoughts and feelings and whatever going on, her own philosophies, her own drama,
Yeah.
and
She's a
it
very strong
makes him,
personality.
yeah, it makes him I think age-wise, they picked a nice pocket where it's like he's not so old that he feels like super, what's the word? Experienced and like stoic, but he's not so young that he's a kid. Like he's in this perfect age pocket where like it makes sense for him to be a little bit emotional, like when she's reacting to that, and he's like, "What do you want me to do, bro? Like, I'm Superman. I can't just let people die. There's right and there's wrong, and there's like he has this kind of emotional energy to him that I think it's a hard balancing act, but I think it fits quite well for him, where he doesn't come off like too childish, but he doesn't seem like an old man who's been doing this for 50 years either.
Right. Yeah. He doesn't have the cynicism that some of us old people have when it comes to the world. You know. But yeah, it's one of those things. When I said that, I felt like it was something in there meant for both sides to think about as far as politically. That a lot was gonna miss. I feel like you know that was one of the first nods to like, hey, both left and right extremists, y'all really need to think and listen to this because this is kind of the reality with a lot of situations in the world. It ain't just as simple as, well, they did this, so you should stop them, or it's just never that simple. Like it would be nice if the world were that simple, but it ain't. You know,
To be
but
clear,
yeah.
I didn't just mean that he wasn't cynical too. I mean, because we often see Superman as like this.
Oh no, I know you're not saying Superman was an older Superman cynical. I was just saying that because I'm old and
Yeah.
cynical.
But I think one of the challenges people have with Superman's character, like when he comes into a scene, he feels perfect. Some people would say perfect. I think maybe too confident in his stances. Right? Like
No,
he
you
walks in, he
said it
says the
right.
good thing.
Perfect.
There's no doubt in him when he's talking.
Right. No, you said the right thing. Perfect. Because remember, I was telling you that was part of my argument when I used to always say, growing up, I did not like Superman because it's like he always did the right thing no matter what. And there, at least the way that he was mostly portrayed growing up, was like he had this perfect thing. He wasn't going to. There was no gray to him. At the end of the day, he was going to save the day because he was going to do the right thing, and you know, you didn't have to worry about thinking about what the consequences of his actions were. Because as far as everybody was concerned, he saved the day. End the story. There's nothing to that, you know, but that. And I think modern era Superman is written with more realistic life complexities. While he's still quote unquote perfect, he's not. I would say he's not written as vague to life circumstances as they used to always portray him. Because he was always just portrayed like the serious, like just eat your breakfast, do your homework, listen to your parents, and everything will be all right. But you know,
Yeah, he still has that core, at least desire to do whatever the good thing is. I guess there are questions he might have about what the good thing is, or at least he's not always as confident about what it is. There's a little more human thought process through it, but I think he still has that beautiful core aspect of at least the desire to do good. Which, if I'm going to get in my own old man cynicism, not everybody has a lot of the time.
no, everybody like kind of you know, again, especially as you get older, you kind of lose the. I guess you lose the stomach for that type of stuff as you're older. Um, I don't know, like, because the world can beat you down, and it can definitely just make you think like everything's fucked up. It's gonna stay fucked up, and you know, I'm just gonna do me and not worry about anything else. I mean, that's generally how a lot of people approach the world. Yeah, but he doesn't approach it that way, and I think that's the thing that's you know really good about this movie. And like I said to other people, like I said it before, and I will 3,000% double down on the point. This is the movie we need in times like this. His perspective, the way that he is, because like, yeah, everything's around him's fucked up. People doing fucked up things. He does not. It's funny because even Lois said it in the movie. She was like, "Why are you so trusting? Why do you think still like look at people like they're so good?" Like she couldn't understand that. And Lois is most of us. Like, yeah, why are you like this? Like, you look at somebody like him, and you're just like, you're just so naive. Why would you? But you know, maybe we all should try to find the best in others and trust that people will do the right thing and keep hoping that they'll do the right thing. You know, and that's what's so unique about
I
him.
I started getting into Superman comics more like a year or so ago, I believe. Funny enough, after reading Tom King's uh, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, because I had watched the James Gunn little announcement video. For those who don't remember, he announced like the full slate of like 10 movies and projects and shows or whatever a while back. And somehow I didn't even I to be clear, I'm a Tom King fan, generally speaking, despite a few stinkers I think he has. Uh, that might get me in trouble with some corners of the internet. But I hadn't even known that he wrote that book. I just never cared about Supergirl, so I probably didn't pay attention when it dropped. Uh, but I was really moved by that book and how so much of it focused on her just helping the people around her. It's like these general acts of kindness for everybody around her. And so I started reading a lot of the Superman books, and I'm picking up on this because you mentioned what makes him unique there, right? I would like read these books and see him just like extremely desirous to like help people around him. And I remember saying this to somebody, it's like, you know what's depressing? He feels unlike any other character I'm reading or watching in any other show.
Yeah,
If only because his main motivation is literally just to help people. So most protagonists, they act because, I don't know, there's some bad guy they need to punch in the face, or they have some story of vengeance, or maybe there's like a personal relationship they're trying to save. Like if you watch Taken, he does all that shit to save his daughter, for example, right there. I can't think of too many protagonists who do all these actions just because they want to help the people around and they care about the people around them that much. And it's funny because Superman is like what you think of as like the prototypical OG superhero everybody else is based off of. Yet I found myself reading these books and almost being disturbed that his attitude seemed, I don't know if rare is fair to say, but he definitely gives off a vibe that I don't get from most characters in any media.
no, it's like, and I think part of that uniqueness to him is to how he came into the game. Which that's another thing about this movie that I loved a lot. Ma and Pa Kent. Oh my god, I think the way that they did Ma and Pa Kent was perfect because it captured that spirit of what at least growing up I always had the sense of or been given the sense of what his parents were. They were just two rural, hardworking, simple, caring people who, you know, did their best to raise somebody to be, as responsible, loving, and caring and thoughtful as possible. And especially with Pocket, because having him being extra emotional, oh shit, to me, I thought was fantastic because you can tell like he really, really cared about his child and really wanted him to do good, and you know he was proud of the stuff that he did. And he had no reservations in sharing that and like getting emotional over that because like he told him when they were talking about I forget exactly who they were referring to in this conversation, but he made the comment about like a lot of parents basically want you to go out there and do what they want you to do, but what we're here as parents to do is to give you the tools so that when you go out there, you're gonna mess up, you're gonna make mistakes, but you learn from them and let you get better from them. We're not here to make you the person you are because the person that he is, he was like basically telling him, you are who you are because of you. It ain't us. It ain't your Kryptonian parents and what they said. You are out there making these choices, and he was very proud of the choices of the person that he made and the person that he became. And I thought that was really really cool. I ain't gonna lie, I got choked up when they had that conversation. I was like him. I was if I had a wife like Martha, she'd call me mush too, because I would feel as if
Yeah, as you said, it was his Kryptonian parents that were being referred to there. Um, guys, before I hit that, I ignored this comment for a bit. I forgot about it. Definitely, Katina, you should see the movie. It is a fun movie.
yeah, I told you
Uh,
it's amazing. It is really really amazing. Very deep. It's very deep, thoughtful. Like if you're a person who pays attention to story and things, you'll get a lot from it. And even if you're not, you'll have fun because it's a very fun movie.
on the point of the parents, I guess starting with his Earth parents, I did like them. I did kind of wish we got a little more out of them, but there was a lot going on in the movie. I'm not gonna like take points away, but I guess I enjoyed it so much. I was like, I kind of wanted to see a
Yeah, I
little
would have
bit
liked
more
to
of
see
them.
Martha and what is her husband's name? Damn, we always know Martin.
John.
Yeah, John. It's funny. I guess we know Martha because stupid. What's his name? Batman versus Superman. So her name
I'm not gonna
is
lie. The only reason I remember Jonathan's name is because Clark's son was named after his grandfather, so that's how I
oh, see,
remember.
yeah, and you reading, so it's sticking with you. Yeah,
um, I, I remember watching that and thinking like this. It feels, obviously they have to cut down movies for theatrical runtimes. I was like, it feels like we should have got more of them, and maybe some of that got cut out. I'm like, I feel like I'm missing a little something with them. But I like what we got. Jonathan being the more emotional one. I like it. It's
but
not
even Martha,
crazier now.
like she wasn't Miss. I'm gonna like tear up and things like that, but you could tell how like she was really proud of him and all that, and how caring she was. It's like, yo, you look at his parents, like, yeah, this is why he's such a fucking nice guy. Because his parents are so like sweet and endearing. Like when he comes back home and they have that conversation after everybody basically starts hating him and stuff like that, and you know he gets out of the prison that Lex puts him in from the poison. Which, by the way, I have to touch on that when I go to the other characters. But like after they have that conversation and everything, and then you see the news feed that they're invading that country again, and the way his mom's like, you need to come and see this, son. And he's watching it, and she's like, now get ready, you know, and do what you need to do. And then she goes, I cleaned your suit and your boots. They're all ready for you to go. And it's like, she's such a mom. And it's like, it was, I don't know, maybe it was just me, but it was like, it's so cute. Because it's like, you know, one, she's being sweet and endearing like a mom, but more importantly, she's supporting what he does and who he is just by
It,
simply saying like, "Yo, we got your gear ready. When you're ready to go, go do what you do best." Like, and that was like really, really fascinating and touching to me. Like, seriously, it was just like, wow. Like, to your point, we need to see these people more because it's it's such a good, you know, it's weird, but they're good character builders for him
I was
without
gonna
you
say
having.
something. I feel like some shows and even comics often forget this. You don't need the supporting cast to all be like super powered and like doing all this crazy stuff. Like sometimes the best supporting cast are just like this, right? They're just people around in this case Superman, but the main character's life that really support and lift up and have their own personalities and all that. Like I love that pretty much everybody in there that was directly important to him were just regular people, but they still contributed
Right.
in important ways in
Yeah.
however they could do it. You know, they gave their son advice as parents would and support. Lois and the rest of the I almost said Daily Bugle, the Daily Planet. Uh, focus on finding the truth about Luthor and all that. Like they didn't need to put on some super suit or drink some formula and come out and fight with him. They had their own shit going on, their own ways to help and be important.
Yeah, that was another good thing about that movie. It's like it's funny. One of the complaints was there's too many people in this movie and there's too much going on. Um, Getting to the characters thing, I thought I felt like the way that they fit them in was fine. And if I had a complaint, I would say to your point about his parents, I would say, with the exception of Mister Terrific, we didn't get enough of everybody. Like, I totally disagree with the whole "it's too many people" argument because I wanted to see Guy more. I actually wanted to see Hawk Girl more, even though, like, she wasn't that interesting. You could say the way that they fit in the world. Yeah, I wanted to see the quote unquote Justice Gang more.
Jesus.
Which, yeah, Guy is a dick. Like, let's just be real. Guy, he's a fucking dick. He's an asshole for that shit. Like, Justice Gang.
He is who he is. I mean, yeah, Hawk Girl. To be fair, I think part of the reason she's not coming off as interesting is because she seemed to get the least amount of attention. Which, again, that's fair. I don't think everybody
Yeah,
needs equal
but what she
opportunity to shine. But yeah,
did was interesting enough to where, yeah, that's cool. Like, we could see, you can give her more. I like them all being in there and working together and how they work with each other. Um, you know, I can honestly say I was one of those people who was like, well, I wasn't complaining about it. I did wonder what the hell made them choose Metamorpho as one of the characters, and the way that they used him, that shit was perfect. It was like the fact that he was imprisoned and was used to help imprison Superman because he could turn into any element known to man, and of course he could turn into kryptonite to keep Superman at bay. It's like that's genius. And then you gave him agency, you gave him a purpose, and you made him a character that, again, I would like to see more of him. Like, if they ever get to a Justice League movie, when it comes out, he's probably going to be in it, and I'll be totally fine with that because of how he was used in this movie.
and definitely, and those other projects will give them all more time to shine, presumably.
Right.
Um,
I
I mean, yeah,
mean, but
even the
does
people who
Mister
didn't get
Terrific really
much
need to get
get
more
it.
time to shine? Didn't he get enough?
Uh, I mean, there's a lot we didn't touch on with Mr. Terrific's character in general. So,
But I mean, just like as far as like being put in the spotlight to people, like because
I mean, he needs
let's
the least. He got the most. He's fine.
I mean, if you cut out Superman, it's a Mister Terrific movie. It's
Crypto and
definitely
Mr. Terrific. Yeah.
yeah, it definitely is like playing Spider Man, you know, and switching over to the Mary Jane mission. That's like yeah, this guy's gonna be you now. You're him. Like it's his show. It's his time. Like
I mean, that's what's up though. It worked. He
it
did his thing.
did, and he was impressive. Um, Kind of made me. By the way, thanks, Katina. If I didn't say I said it before, but thank you again. I'm thanking her because they actually put Mister Terrific in Fortnite, and I was telling her about Mister Terrific, and so she brought me to Mister Terrific. So now I have Mister Terrific and Superman in Fortnite.
Have you?
Don't judge me. Don't judge me, monkey. Don't judge me.
Well, I was out. I judge you for playing Fortnite in general. Um, do you have any like familiarity with Mr. Terrific's character?
Not much. Like I was saying to you last night, outside of Justice League Unlimited, not much. Because he wasn't. Again, so many characters in these universes. None of these people, at least in my day, such an old man. Like they were nuanced here. Like you had to be that person that was a Mister Terrific fan to care about Mister Terrific stuff like that. You know, like I say about Marvel. Same thing with DC. You had to be that type of fan. Like Hawkman and Hawkgirl got the most burn for being in the Justice League, but I don't know anybody who was reading any of their comic books.
Well, I just asked because I like to try to pull myself out of the. For those who don't know, I've gotten pretty into comics the last couple of years. Uh, I like to try to pull myself out of that viewpoint and think about how people who aren't reading them or who maybe aren't as familiar. I mean, to be fair, I think you're still probably more familiar with comics than the general audience is. Uh, so maybe even you wouldn't be the best test case for this, but I found it fascinating to kind of think through and look at how general audiences see this movie, as opposed to somebody who's increasingly nerdy and obsessed with it. So, for example, I remember seeing a lot of comments by people who seemed shocked to learn that Superman even has a dog in the first place. And to me, I'm like, well, that it feels like common knowledge to me. But I was like, oh yeah, I guess maybe they've never seen Crypto in any media. He had like a little cartoon, and then the Dwayne did a bit of a movie, but I guess he's not been featured in anything crazy. He certainly wasn't in the Snyder stuff. Uh, and I look at Mr. Terrific, and I guess this is why I was asking because I'm reading Jeff Johns' JSA run from the early 2000s, in which Mr. Terrific is a major character. So I've gotten very attached to him pretty recently, actually. And I was a little surprised to see that, like, even without all that buildup in history and all the stuff he does, just from this movie, just how many people had gotten attached to him and thought he was so cool and all that. I mean, it shows like you don't have to. And I say all that because like they didn't even go through his origin story at all, right? They didn't. Maybe I'm spoiling some future thing, but they didn't talk about how he loses his wife and how that affects him and how he becomes a hero and his crisis of faith, religious faith and whatnot. Like he's a pretty interesting character. And it's like we didn't even have to touch any of that to get audiences hooked on him, and I found that interesting.
Yeah. I mean, he got a lot of burn. I would have thought Guy would have been the one to like be this like show stealer in the movie outside of
Same.
Superman.
Damn.
Who knew?
Maybe they pulled back because he's gonna show up in, although he's not a main character in the Lantern show either. But
Well, and we're gonna see him in, gosh, I guess 2 or 3 weeks. in Peacemaker 2, season 2.
Yeah, a little bit. I guess I figured it was just gonna be a bit of a cameo just for that
Yeah,
one scene,
but
but
I mean,
maybe a bit more.
he's still gonna get some screen time.
But he's around, definitely. So I guess that was my point. Is like he's at the very least definitely announced to be
And
in
by the
several
way,
upcoming projects.
Nathan Fillion did a great job of that character. Like, yeah, he captured the dickishness and the assholes. And again, that fight scene when he shows up like to save the day in the country that's being invaded, and he just goes, hey, Superman's not here, but you got an upgrade, kid. Like, and then proceeds to go on the battlefield and throw middle fingers up as he fucks shit up with his powers. Like, yeah, yeah.
They felt, yeah, mostly true to character. Um, how
Yeah,
would I put
Hawkgirl
it?
was a murderer. Yeah, that fits.
I guess that was another thing. Somebody had asked me what I thought about that, like the fact that Hawkgirl killed your favorite character there. Um, I remember thinking again, like I guess because Superman and Batman have that code of no killing, and they're the most popular superhero characters. I feel like people have this weird assumption that that is just like true of all heroes. Spider-Man is like that too, I guess. Like I guess most of the most popular heroes
The people
have that no
on
kill rule.
Hawkgirl's planet fought mad wars, murdering people. No, they do kill. They're
Well, I mean,
warriors. They're fucking. They're
funny
Vikings.
enough,
They're basically space Vikings. Come on.
one of the last stories in that JSA run I talked about I was reading, Hawkman was like beefing with the rest of the Justice Society because why? They were fighting a bunch of people, doing genocide stuff, and he wanted to kill them, and the rest of them wouldn't let him, basically. But he was down. He was attempting to kill them a lot at
Blood for
least.
blood.
Um, and again, it goes to the fact of variety, right? Like for those of you who are used to the MCU or Marvel stuff, Black Panther kills people. Black Widow killed people. She was an assassin, literally.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know if Punisher counts really as a hero, but
I
plenty of
mean,
heroes kill people, man. Like
yeah, he does. Because if
Captain
Batman's a
America
hero,
killed
then
people.
Punisher's a hero. Because they're both vigilantes. They're both outside the law doing things. It's that one doesn't kill, and the other one will not only kill you, but probably kill you in some of the worst ways possible. I've seen this man
Cap, yeah.
use a like katana to slice somebody up. Like Punisher is a fucking psycho.
Captain America killed people, obviously. Not even just during the war that he was in, like even in a couple modern books I've seen him kill people. So like I think the popularity of characters like Superman and Batman and the fact that they share that code kind of distorts people's views and makes them have assumptions about how
Right.
all heroes behave.
Because
They're a lot of them
Wonder
are pretty
Woman
different.
will break you into pieces. Like, come on. Like,
We got a Maxwell Lord reference, and what's one of the most famous Wonder Woman moments when she breaks Maxwell Lord's neck in I don't remember the name of the book, one of Greg Rucka's books, but like when she literally takes him by the head and snaps his neck. It's like one of her most famous moments in comics.
yeah, like,
Some of them do. I'm not saying she's like some bloodthirsty monster who kills people all the time, but like they're not all that strict about it.
no, there's no real restriction. Again, except for Batman, which I feel like for him, it's because he knows if he tastes blood, then he's totally gone since he's already a psychopath to begin with. So that's like his line. Like, I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy. I think that's Batman's reasoning for that. Superman is just he's just a pure soul. Yeah.
Yep, yep. And to be fair to Superman, he actually has the power to, restrain most. For him, it's not like too much of a moral thing like that. There's not many people he couldn't
Yeah,
take down and restrain.
this
So
man, like, if he wanted to just flick you with his finger, can probably crush all your internal organs with that flick. But he has incredible willpower and self control because he's just that nice of a guy.
I guess hopping into the movie with a couple plot points. I did feel a little weird in the beginning. When Superman had lost that fight, it said like Superman loses his first fight like 3 minutes ago,
Mm-hmm.
and we pan out and it's who the Hammer of Baravia. Now, later we get a reveal of who that character is, and it makes more sense. And
Right.
I kind of knew that, but I knew that because I'd seen somebody reference the fact that quote unquote Ultraman was gonna be in this movie, so I was like, I guess the hammer there must have been him, and I guess it makes sense. But even just visually, it felt weird to see like this no-name thing. Even when I knew who it was ahead of time, I was like, that made me a little uneasy, but it's still fun.
Yeah. But I think it was like a good making like what the fuck did that just happen? And I think also what helped it be more acceptable for like the general audience. I'm speaking of is the fact that we knew Lex Luthor was behind this, and Lex Luthor comes up with all types of shit to fuck with Superman. So it tracked with again what happens in that world. Lex Luthor has always been that person looking. So it's like some people probably it's like he probably has kryptonite in his body or something like that. Like you could make rational assumptions just as a general person because of who was behind that particular antagonist. Because Lex is
True.
obsessed with doing shit like that to Superman.
Although also to the credit of general audiences, they probably have not seen the kinds of ludicrous things Superman has done. So I know that they know that he's like strong, but they probably don't have a good sense of it anyway. So maybe it didn't seem that weird to them
Yeah.
that Superman could lose a fight. Uh,
Right.
like, like I said, I have to pull myself out of the comic book brain a little bit to
But it
swallow
was
a
a
little
good
bit of it, but
tilt.
it's fine.
I thought it was a good tilt. I also found like it was a good moment to get that shot of his parents in, so that when it came back later, it it was able to work so well as a shock moment. You know.
Oh yeah, it's all set up for the plot and like
Right.
it works logically. I don't have a problem with it. It just there's just some things when you see them because of what you're used to.
Yeah,
You just
and
gotta like
I think that's one of the inherent problems of being a fan of certain mediums, like especially comic books.
right.
Because when you know certain things, it's like eats at you, and it's harder to suspend like yourself. Like other people could just like suspend themselves because they're not that deeply invested in the thing. Yeah, so
Like and be, I guess this brings up an interesting point too because I've often said, and I'm not perfect myself, but I do feel like fans of comics who go to the movies, they're a little too ironically like insistent that movies match some of the source material. Because if you read comics, like you'll see, especially in DC, right, continuity is not like a thing, really. Like DC's history has had like a number of reboots over the decades. Things are
no,
retconned and
correct
brought back
yourself.
every 10 seconds.
DC history has had a number of reboots over the last decade
Uh,
alone, not
yeah.
just past. Like within the last 10 years, how many times have they rebooted this thing?
I guess it depends on what you count. I'd say at least one, maybe two. Some people might count a couple others.
Like I thought it was at
Debatable.
least three times within the last, because you had the New 52, you had what else? Rebirth, and there was something else. I feel like there was another one since 2000. I want to say since 2010. So let's say last 15 years,
Dark
not last
Crisis
10
or
years.
something. There was Dark Crisis or whatever it was called a couple of years ago that brought a lot of heroes back.
Yeah, see, and
I mean,
like,
I guess I could agree with that. I personally, I'm not counting those last two as reboots, but again, debatable.
yeah, like
Like when I say reboots, I mean like hard universe reboots. So I'm thinking, like you said, New 52 or Crisis on Infinite Earths. There's been a couple that, if you want to call them reboots, I won't fight you on it. But yeah, my point is, DC's history with like consistent continuity is not really a thing. They've done literal reboots of their old universes several times since they've existed, and even when they're not literally rebooting, just with like the regular stories, like I said, things will be retconned in and out at any given moment. There's multiverse stories all the time, right? Like right now, what's the biggest thing DC is doing? The absolute universe, where it's just a completely separate universe from their main universe. So, and people love that. So I've always found it weird that people might get super angry about things not being like comic book uh source accurate, when I'm like, first of all, the source material has never been that stable in the first place. It has all kinds of changes every 10 seconds. And secondly, you guys should be accustomed to seeing all kinds of different interpretations of these characters because they've been interpreted many times by many writers over decades.
It's
I
funny
say
too.
that also. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I say all that still having my own little things that it's kind of emotionally hard for me to let go, but I'm at least like cognizant of the fact that I'm being hypocritical when I do it.
What I was going to say is the funny thing is we're going to have this conversation again this week when we both go and see Fantastic Four about that with Silver Surfer. Everybody's already losing their minds over Silver Surfer. So yeah, we'll have that conversation again to make this point. Which again, to your point, comic books themselves are forever reinterpreting things. Like
I think as messy as it is, I think some of that is fun too. So double-edged sword, but yeah.
yeah, it's okay, people. It's all right.
So to hop on off that point, because we were talking about the parents, I brought all that up partially to say that the thing with the Kryptonian parents, with the name Laurel and whatever her name is, that made me feel weird. Like it doesn't ruin. I don't know. But we're talking spoilers anyway. So basically, as you say in the beginning, we get to see part of a transmission from his birth parents back on Krypton. Later in the movie, Lex breaks into the Fortress of Solitude, which, by the way, great job with the Fortress of Solitude. Love the robots. He manages to get some of this footage. He unlocks part of it that was damaged, I guess, in the flight to reveal the entire thing. Later plays it to the whole world. Apparently, his parents did not just send him out there to be good and wonderful and beloved by another species. They sent him apparently to conquer said species and take many wives and sire many children and all kinds of gross stuff.
But I guess it kind of fits because I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but hasn't there been some stuff in Kryptonian lore where it was kind of like a planet of sort of people who were into doing shit like that? Like I feel like that was kind of the basis of that Krypton show, where there was like a lot of people, like some people who didn't want to go that route, but there were others who did fucked up things and
It
wanted to do
was
that. Because it was kind of like the reason why you got people like General Zod, because there was a sect of Kryptonians that were like, yeah, we should be doing,
sure.
you know, conquering, you know, in a
I think
sense,
they
the
touched on it a little bit
inspirations
with
for Invincible's father, Omni Man.
I think they touched on a little bit in that My Adventures with Superman animated series too. And I'm not the most well-read Superman fan. Like I said, I've gotten into it the last year or so. I have heard people argue that like maybe some of John Byrne's Man of Steel run, one of the most famous Superman runs, also had Krypton maybe not being the nicest folks early on. Uh, Again, this is part of the trouble with arguing that things should be comic book accurate is comic books evolve and tell all kinds of different stories. I willing to accept there are definitely interpretations of Krypton like that. It still felt far. Like I think if you would like tamp down on lines like take a bunch of wives and make a bunch of babies and shit, like I think some of it, I was like, did we really? It got a little graphic here.
Yeah, and to their credit, they mentioned that Lex probably made up some of that stuff to make it, where people
I don't
were
think he
saying.
did.
I mean, I don't. He probably didn't, but people were mentioning like maybe he made up something. 'Cause, yeah, it was the harem thing. You know, that was very fantastical. So that could you could make an argument maybe he made it, but for the most part, the message was yeah, you should rule this planet, and that was the point. I just think the harem thing was like something that they focused on just to be dickish about, especially the president of what's his name, the Bavaria, I think was the name. Is that the name? Yeah, talking about like
Bravia, yeah, whatever it
I heard that he really likes our women.
is. Yeah, nice little bit of Trump mixed in there.
Yeah.
Um,
Again, that guy is a mix of a bunch of people, a bunch of people that we don't like. I mentioned Netanyahu. Yeah, he's
and to be
got that
clear,
mix.
when I bring up these issues I have, I also don't want to blow them out of proportion. Be clear, like while I don't love them, it's not like they ruin the movie for me or anything. But there's definitely things where I'm like, it gives me a little rub the wrong way. Part of it is like, do we really need to, you know, do this with Clark's birth parents? It feels a little weird, but also again, I think how far it went
But
made it a little too fantastical for me to eat it anymore.
yeah, like I said, the harem thing was a bit too much, but the conquering taking over, yeah, I can see that, and I think that worked for like making the ending that much better.
Yeah, it definitely worked
you
logically. And
know,
I guess it also establishes maybe Guns or like their just general vision of Superman is that he's maybe not that tied to Krypton and he really is Earth Boy over here. So but maybe part of it is they just didn't want to be touching the Kryptonian legacy that much anyway, so they just kind of cut it off with him. Because there's definitely different writers who will like focus a lot on say the Kryptonian origin. There's
yeah.
writers who will focus more on the Earth side with Mon Pod. Some who find a nice balance. So I've definitely seen different books where they put a different amount of weight on each part of it. To be fair,
But you just made me think of something too, because I brought up Zod. It actually does work too, so that when you bring in a Zod, it will make it make more sense that Zod wasn't just some outlier.
Mhm.
Instead of like, oh, we just vanished him. Like, you don't have to do the whole we vanished him to the whatever zone thing with him.
Phantom Zone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Phantom Zone. I couldn't think of what they called it. I felt like it was called something else in something I saw. But yeah, it eliminates the need for the Phantom Zone stuff to come into the mix. And like you establish Supergirl is there already. Crypto's there, so there are some surviving Kryptonian beings.
that, that shit is crazy. None of them got an origin.
Nah,
Like, I mean, you could argue like we did 10-second overview on Superman, but like Kara got nothing. Crypt, I still don't know where Crypto. Somebody asked me like, how does Crypto have powers? I was like, you know what? That's a good fucking question. How does he? I actually don't know Crypto's origin. Like,
uh,
it kind of didn't matter.
and it's funny. I looked it up. I have to look it up again, and then we'll discuss that later. Cause I looked it up, like the whole history of how like he showed up in the early years of Superman, and for some reason just disappeared out of nowhere, and then came back with the cartoon. It was like his history is like interesting because it's just like yo,
I can't remember who the whatever the title would have been, chief editor or whatever it was, but I have heard that there was somebody in charge at one point. Fuck, what's his name? But he wanted to like start cutting some of the more goofy aspects out of DC Comics out when he was in charge. So there is a period where like crypto was one of the things that got the axe. That's what I was referring to earlier when I said like there was a period where crypto just doesn't show up in books anymore, and it was because of this man's name that I can't think of that didn't like that stuff in the books.
this okay. Here it is. This shows you how long crypto has been around. His first appearance was Adventure Comics issue 210, March of 1955. So, what's that, roughly
15 years or so
15
after.
years, between 15 to 20 years after Superman? And he was in a Superboy adventure. And then eventually stuck around for those. And, um, yeah. So he's been there in Adventure Comics. You know, he was with Superman when he was a kid. So he had always been a thing.
The I mean, in terms of origin, like I've seen a couple interpretations where maybe he was put in the little capsule with Clark, so he'd been there, or maybe he sent after. I've never really thought too much about it. I'm just so accustomed to seeing him around, I guess. Like when they asked me like where does he come from, what is his like actual origin story, I was like, huh, I can't even remember the last time I saw an origin for him.
Yeah, it's like apparently his rocket got lost and they found him.
Reusing the old car story, fair enough.
Like his father is like he was used as a test animal. He was basically the damn dog. And like, oh my god, yeah, he was basically akin to the dog that the Russians sent up to test space capsules. Again, like,
Cosmo all
and
over
by the
again.
way, this is one of the things about comic books people need to realize. Like everything else, all media, comic books have stolen from real life a lot. Like a lot of people, like you find like some things have been based on actual stuff that has happened when you dig deep enough, and this is one of them. Because I forget the name of the Russian dog because it's actually in a museum somewhere. I think in Russia because it's considered a hero for being the first dog. First,
The
first.
dog itself is in a museum,
I don't
like
think
stuffed
the
or something.
dog survived the trip,
Okay.
but they have like a replica. Maybe I have to look it back up, but it's considered a hero because it was, and it may not be. Was it a dog? It may have been something else, but yeah, it's considered a hero because it helped usher in space, you know, flight. Because that's how they used to do. Like they used to test animals and send them up in the capsules first before they sent humans. Which, yeah,
Since we're talking dogs anyway, can I just say I obviously we knew from the trailer Crypto was gonna be in this movie. I remember being shocked and amazed at how present he was the entire movie, like how much of a feature point he was from beginning to end.
yeah, he wasn't just like a bit. He was significant, and yeah,
Yep.
and he again, as with Mister Terrific, he got his moment. Like
He put in more work than
he got
Clark
his
did some
mission.
levels.
Yeah, he got his mission. Like when that final fight against Ultraman, when like Clark figured out what was happening, and called him. It was like, yo, yeah, okay, we gonna take your advantage away. Let's, and he sends Crypto after the robots.
It was
Which,
Crypto who actually beat the main villain of the
yeah,
movie.
when you think about it, like, yeah, if it wasn't for Crypto, Superman would have been dead. He saved
Well,
Superman.
I meant that he tossed around Lex, but yeah,
Oh,
both of
Lex.
them.
Oh, that was hilarious when he grabbed because Lex was giving this like epic speech and like trying to like match Superman in his epic speech, and then Crypto's just like, man, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about how Crypto would be used. I was like, oh, it's cute. They're embracing Superman, so he's gonna be in the movie a little bit. That's fun. But like, fuck me, he was featured in pretty much every major plot point. Like the whole reason where they meet Metamorpho is because Crypto was captured. So it's like
Yeah, like
it,
it
it
he
should have been Superman and Crypto was the name of the movie. I feel like he got fucked out of the credits here.
No, the name of the movie should have been Superman and the Adventures of Crypto and Mr. Terrific. Because basically, it was a three piece. It was a three-piece, like, team.
Yeah, it was well done. But yeah, Crypto, weirdly the MVP. I guess I didn't see it coming. I just, but, and again, it didn't feel. I mean, I could maybe see an argument about it being a bit too much, but it was done.
But
He added a
again,
certain energy to the movie, definitely. It's done fairly
adding
well.
to the, like, how just making the universe what it is and not making the audience have to learn it, it works so well because when I was in the theater, everybody was just like going, "Aw," and everybody they broke into the Fortress of Solitude and they hit him, people were like, "Oh no!" and then they found out he was alive. People were like, sigh of relief, and it's like he drew so many emotions from the audience that I was in. Like,
And again, nobody ever felt the need to explain him at all. No
no,
origin, no nothing. He's a
no.
dog and he has powers, so we moved on.
hmm And he was one of the more endearing things and lovable things about that movie to a lot of people. Again, hats off to Gunn for making this work that way because again, for me and I guess maybe for you too, the idea of just jumping in, no problem, cool. We're sick and tired of all these origin stories anyway, for the most part. As people who are fans of the medium anyway, in particular. But like, he made it work so well that it just made sense to everybody, and everyone accepted it.
Yeah. No reason to get in your head about it.
Yeah.
Um, I was trying to figure out how to segue this because we were talking about the animals. It reminded me of the thing with the squirrel, the scene where he saves the
Oh
squirrel.
my
But I'll make
god.
a more general point. I think I might have mentioned this when we spoke last night. I loved that with Superman's character, it showed again him actually saving people and animals, right? Like when he's fighting that giant monster in the city, which by the way, even just having giant monsters, that's so fucking Metropolis. Is perfect vibe.
Right.
He
Like,
gives
just
he gives
random shit.
he gives the monster this giant uppercut and it starts stumbling back into a building. And what does he do? He doesn't just let it fall into the fucking building. He flies around behind it and catches it so it fucking doesn't. When it's gonna fall on the people, he catches it. When it's gonna step on this dog, he stops it. There's even down to like this little squirrel around. He swoops in and saves the squirrel because that is Superman. He sees you. He cares about you. He loves everything.
Yeah, because there was one
I
point
can't
where it was
remember.
gonna fall on. I think was it the second monster? Uh,
It might have
that
been a bit. It was a building or something, was it? It was when the
or the
city was
building.
breaking.
Yeah, it was something that fell, and he caught it to make sure it doesn't crush people, but he let himself get buried underground with it. I think it was the monster that he was fighting. That same monster in one scene, like where it fell, and he kept it from falling people in the park, but he had to tunnel himself out.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We're talking about two different. That I think that was when there was that one dog he had to like blow away, and then he got stuck. He stopped the monster from
Yeah,
stomping on the dog, and then
right,
after he moved the dog out of the way, he let himself get smashed into the ground,
right.
and then
And then
he
he
like
tunneled
tunneled.
out because he was like, "Yeah,
Right, right, right.
nah, you're not gonna get hurt. I'll take the hit. Just
Yes.
please be safe."
What I was talking about was the scene on the
No, I know
bridge
what you're
where there's
talking
like
about. The
one last
bridge. Yeah,
lady. Yeah.
yeah,
But
that
again, like
too. But it's just
it's
like it's
done
all those moments, like
throughout the movie, like
right.
just like consistently a thing where, and I think the reason I brought it up was I'm not saying this to shit on other movies or other projects, but a lot of the times we see these huge action beats where people are just like knocking each other around through the city, not giving a shit. Maybe not as extreme as like Invincible, but like It's so focused
But
on
no,
just
it's like
fighting the
nobody.
bad
It's
guy.
like they don't put thought into the fact that hey, y'all are blowing up a lot of shit. Are these people around? It's not like you're doing it in a ghost town. Are these people okay?
Right.
But he's
And
making a conscious effort of like, yo, we're about to fight in a fucking metropolitan city. Somebody might get hurt. I need to make sure like they don't. Like
it's
he's
keeping focused on the fact
focused.
that his desire is to save people, not just fight. This is his big goal in life is not to just like find some bad guy to punch. It's to help the people around him. It's a different focus. And I feel like a lot of superhero characters are not depicted with that in mind. Like we have a few great moments like, Spider-Man stopping the train and all that shit, but like every moment where he was fighting, it was a conscious concern for who was in the area and how he could help them, right? Like,
Yeah, it's like
or
he's
even when he's having that conversation with Lois and he says, "I'm going to let myself get taken so I can go find the dog." Think about how he said it, right? Like,
right. It wasn't like I just don't. I'm tired. I just don't want to be bothered. No, it wasn't a selfish act. He could have and he could have simply just said like this could be for the best interest of everybody. I just turn myself in and then they'll just see I'm a good person once we like all is said and done and see that I'm not. No, he that could have been said, and I think all of us would have been fine because that would have been a reasonable reason to turn yourself in. Like, look, let's turn myself in. Let's just like go and reassure these people I'm not the bad guy that they think. He wasn't concerned about saving himself or his reputation. He was just like, yo, they probably the same people who got crypto will probably be keeping me in the same place, and I just want to make sure he's okay.
he could
No
have also
concern.
said like, uh, because I think what most main characters would have done is like, oh, I'm going to do this as like a plot to like take down the bad guy. Like he could have it could have been focused on Lex, for example, where he's
Right,
like, I'll do this, it'll give me the proof I need to take down Lex or whatever shit. Like, no, there was no plot, like you said, no plot, no scheming. It was as simple as look, there's a dog, he's alone, he's in trouble. I'm gonna save him. That is it. That is his entire motivation. It is literally that pure. Like he doesn't even like the dog, but he's like, the dog needs help.
yeah, it was like yeah, but even then, like I was saying to you last night, just how thoughtful he is when you see before this conversation about the dog comes up. He's in Lois's apartment, and she sees like this big like amoeba and the Justice League fighting this thing, and she's like, "Yo, you're not gonna go help them like beat this thing?" Because she's thinking like, "Wait, Miss Schoolboy, you always talking about helping. Why aren't you over here?" And he literally says to her like, "No, I checked in on it. They're fine. They have it handled. So that's why I went to go look for my dog and make sure he's okay." He literally took time to make sure, like, hey, is this all right, dude? It's not like he's not thinking of not helping people. He, he everything. It's like he doesn't miss an opportunity to help. Like if he can help, he will help. If he's needed, he'll be there. Like he's the most solid motherfucker in the world.
When Lex kills one guy, he fucking cries. Like he
Right.
didn't even know that guy like that, but he's like this idea that somebody would get hurt because they had a passing statement or two to me. Like
Yeah.
there is
But
a
again,
purity to it.
the also the guy Malik, he was like, "Yo, don't worry about me, Superman. You've done so much for everybody. Let me take the L for you. Let me just don't give in to this guy. Be who you are, and do what you do. It's okay. Like it's like him being who he is clearly rubs off on people, Yeah, people turned on him when they heard the whole like harem thing, but that guy represented like, yo, not everybody is just that self-centered. Like you actually do make an impact. He was like a symbol of the impact that Superman actually makes, which I thought was cool too. Like, yeah, some people will turn and flip on a dime, but there are people out there who understand what you're about and want to be about that too. And you are a positive influence. Or like the little boy on the battlefield. Like, what does he
Mm.
do? He draws the symbol on the flag and raises it. And like everybody is like, yelling for Superman. And when they see that, when Guy in them sees that, they're like, yo, this motherfucker, like, yeah, what the fuck are we doing? Like, this motherfucker got people ready to stand up and die, and you know, and are with him and what he wants to do, and we're sitting over here like with the corporate brand on us, just showing up for certain things and not really like giving a fuck. You know, like he fucking inspires the world. Like, god damn it, you pure son of a bitch. Like he got Guy Gardner to grow a heart. It was like watching the Grinch, listening to the Who, singing the Whoville, and his heart grew.
I mean, he still saved them in his own dickish way, but yeah, he was definitely there.
Yeah.
But again, like it feels sad to say, but it does ironically make him unique. Like actually being the stereotypical superhero is what makes him unique. Because not every most characters are just not like this.
Nah.
I just love the purity of his intentions all the time. I'm not doing this because I need to smack Lex's bald head. I'm doing it because there's even one life in trouble. And you see that in plenty of books. I was rereading Superman Up in the Sky a bit ago. Basically, in that book, there's this like one little girl who gets like taken away into space, and he has this like crisis of conscience first. He's like, "Can I really, leave everybody on Earth? Leave my responsibilities. People could be in danger while I'm gone. Can I really do this to save one person?" And he ends up like thinking about it for a little bit. I think really he has this conversation with his dad, where his dad is like, "Yeah, maybe somebody else can save her, but maybe they don't." And there's this one little girl who's waiting on you to save her. And so he fucking goes and we have the story. Like every little life is important to Superman. And he's gonna at least try.
Well, yeah. I mean, even going back to the whole thing where a guy and them went to save them, it was like he was set with pressure. It's like, yeah, you can go save them, but you also have, this rift that will destroy the world. So it was like, you could see that it was bothering him that he had to make that choice, even though keeping the rift from destroying the whole world was was the choice that he made. That was the bigger responsibility. You could see that it paid him that he couldn't be like you could see in his face it was like, but I can't do both. Like,
Mhm.
damn, like you gonna make me choose? Fuck.
I kind of wanted him to do both a little bit. So, like when I saw the little boy, lift up the Superman symbol, I was like, I really want this little boy to see Superman save him. I mean, I get why
Yeah.
we did what we did, and it worked, and it gave the fucking Justice Gang their moment to shine. But I was like, I'm so into Superman right now. I want to save everybody and like hug a puppy or some shit, just some rant.
But no, but even to that point, the whole like you got an upgrade. Clearly, like everybody knew what they wanted. That's why guy said, like, I know you really wanted Superman here, but in his own dickish way, he was like, we're here to pick up the slack while he's helping, somewhere else. You know, it's like you got Superman because it was Superman who inspired them to go do this and help them while he's doing something. It was like it's it's crazy, like, but it showed like the influence that he has and the inspiration and like what the character is supposed to represent as an influence to us. Because all right, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I just said it in the TikTok earlier. Like, so you've known me for a while, right? And you know my demeanor. I'm always trying to do things like to help people when I can, or to like try to do the right thing. Like I'm always fucking with my head because I don't want to do certain things because I don't want to do hurt people's feelings, do the wrong thing. I was sitting there watching that movie and I was like, Jesus Christ, am I trying to be Superman? And it just like made me think like seriously about my mom. God rest her soul, but my mom was that type of person that was always trying to help people and to do what's right for other people. Like, you know, she sacrificed a lot for us, you know, and probably did way more than she should have at the expense of herself. And, you know, I try to be like my mom because you know, she's my inspiration. And, you know, I was looking at that movie and I was just like, yo, yeah, like, again, as much as I always talk about, like, I hate how, like, perfect Superman is, I feel like I also identify with that. And then maybe that's why I hate him so much because it makes me admit that I would like to like maybe have that type of impact on the world because I think the world is shit and there's a lot of people who don't do things for like it's way too much selfishness in this world that irritates the fuck out of me. You know, I hate to see
I
people
think
hurt.
that it was you the other day. You said something to me like, "Don't we all want to be like Superman or something?" And I was like, "No, I think a lot of people want to be like Lex, actually."
Yeah,
But I
because
do think we should. I think Superman represents what we should at least want to
yeah,
be like.
because things would be so much better if we would try to help each other and do things. Like
And I think
okay,
that's the, yeah, maybe I was too cynical, but I was like, I remember thinking like, because I think of like, real life Lex's counterparts, and I'm like, I think a lot of people would really like to just be rich and dickish and do what they want and be fucking eight. I'm like, I could see a lot of people, if they had their drugs, they would be Lex, not Soups.
yeah, no, because and see, I hate to say these things because I feel like I'm making myself seem like a dick. But saying like, yeah, I get Superman because I do something, but it's like my part of the reason why I went to see Superman where I went to see Superman was because I was like, well, one, it was because everybody told me I should go. You know, it's a great experience. But two, I thought of, hey, the person I went with has been going through a lot of stuff, and maybe if I can convince them to come with me, knowing how I don't like to go, I would. I mean, I probably would have went anyway because I wanted to see the movie. But it was also a perfect opportunity to take someone with me who's been going through some things, and having gone through all the stuff that I've gone through, I understand where they're at, and I just wanted to like give them a break from that shit and to see something cool, you know. And so we went where we went, and it was a cool experience before and during the movie and after the movie, actually. Which I'll give you details about because I don't think I talked about that. How like it was actually pretty cool, but it's like yeah, like we should all strive to make each other's lives better, or to his speech to Lex about humanity and how like you know he does what he does because he wants people to be you know have better, and he like wants them to be better, and all of that, and like he hopes that Lex someday gets like that's what humanity's about, making things better and helping one another and all that. Like, yeah, it's like it's part of why I do the job that I do. It's like why I do Extra Life, you know, and the reason it being because, partially too because of, I'm inspired by someone like my mom, who was that type of person who touched people like yeah, like, and it also made me realize I probably am just hating the person that I am because Superman is such a decent person. It's like I don't want to be that perfect person. I don't want to be Superman, but I try to be Superman in some way. Maybe I don't know, and it irks me because he's a jerk. He's no fun. Like Lois said, like God, you're lame. Like you're just a lame person. Like you're not
The
edge. You don't have any like edge to you. And he's trying to prove she's edgy. It's like no, you like a pop band version of edgy music. You don't. You're not. You don't have edge. Oh, by the way, perfect touch that they play their song in the credits.
I never heard of the band, so
I
I,
never
I
heard of
guess
them
I didn't catch
either,
that.
but I knew it was them because they said their name in the song. I was like, oh my god, they're actually playing the
Oh.
band. Yeah, if you actually listen to the song in the credits, they say their name during the song. It's like, holy shit, this is who she was saying that like he's like, they was like wimps and all that. Like, okay,
But again, that message about him is just again laced through the entire movie because she says something like, she's referring to herself like, I'm as a reporter, all cynical, always questioning everybody, all that, but you think everybody you meet is fucking beautiful and this and that, and it's like this great statement about just Superman's character, and then he says something like, maybe that was the real punk rock all along, and I was like, oh my god,
right.
it's so
And
fucking
like,
corny, but
okay,
it's
to be
perfect
fair,
for
I'm not
him.
like that. I can be very, very cynical, but I also will admit that a lot of my cynicism and a lot of my frumpiness is me just trying not to be like as trusting and as open to trusting people as I can be because I'm always thinking I do too much for people and I'm always trying to see the better side. It's like I need to stop doing that. No, people suck and all that. It's like, yeah, who are you fooling, Michael? You're a simp.
Reminds me, I want to get back into reading Action Comics because like the storyline I left off on made me think of that because basically he had like helped out this dude who was a prisoner, and then the guy went and did something bad again, and he's like, questioning himself as to whether he did the right thing helping him the first time. Like these I will say as I've gotten into Superman, I know myself growing up and a lot of people would think part of the reason he's lame is not just his attitude, but the fact that like he's so strong, nobody can really touch him, and
Right.
you don't tend to see great Superman fights. But the thing I've learned from like reading some of these like classic Superman books is for his character, it's not usually about the fights. It's about can he figure out the good thing to do and then can he actually execute on it. So like I'm looking at my shelf, for example, there's a All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison. For those who never read that book or watched the movie, basically he's like dying. I'm oversimplifying, but he's basically dying in the book, and he spends a lot of it just trying to figure out like how to help as many people as he can before he goes. There's Superman Lost up there, where it's this story where like he's lost in space for years and years, and he's going through all this psychological shit, and still, right, like as he's going through his own mental shit, he's like still on this other world trying to help them. Like helping people is the conflict of his story. It's not usually like fighting a bad guy per se.
Right.
And
It's
I
not
think that
about the
makes him
brawn.
interesting.
And I think that's where I think a lot of us like my cynicism for Superman. You know, part of my cynicism is the fact that like he's never going to lose a fight, but it's like that's not like you said the point of him. It's not is he going to be able to come through and win the battle? But it's more about how to figure out how to do it and
Yeah.
to make the best results out of
Right.
things.
Like as I'm looking at that shelf, I'm like, some of those books don't even have like an antagonist as such for him to fight at all. Like some of them, there's like Lex, but even so, he's not like final boss. In a lot of them, he's just the person who caused the conflict that Superman needs to solve.
But it's kind of like somebody said like jokingly about him on a podcast. Like people think of Superman and they see him as like, oh, he's a cop. It's like, no, he's a fireman. His job is to save people. He's not about like taking down. It's not to arrest and take down people, and things like that. He wants, like you said, he wants to save people. That's his
I think more
focus.
cops should see that as their job too, but
I'm sure his
I
job
digress.
does. Really, like that whole protect and serve thing is totally ignored in their premise. But hey, yeah,
I mean, like I said, it goes back to how a lot of superheroes are depicted too, where the focus of their story is to punch a bad guy, not save a citizen.
yeah. Because again, people who know
A lot
me
of media leans
know
that way.
a lot, people who know me knows Batman is my favorite character, and it's not because he punches people or because he solves crimes, but I always think that it's a fascinating like character to see because this like as I've said before, like this guy is kind of crazy, but his motivations are genuine and understandable, and it's like he's a complex character to deal with. That being said, to break down how he's presented and as far as how he takes care of things, yeah, he solves a crime. He goes, he punches the shit out of somebody. He takes them to jail. He doesn't necessarily try to like. He makes things better in a way by ridding the streets of this criminal. Of course, again with the Arkham Asylum thing, it makes it even more complex because he doesn't cure the problem by leaving these motherfuckers alive to escape. I always got that too. Like it's not something that can be easily ignored, but taking all that away, his basic function again is to be a cop. Find out who did the crime, find the criminal, incarcerate him. It's more of a, which is, again, there's nothing wrong with that because it's a part of what needs to be done in society. But it's not a cure to the problems. Whereas Superman is always trying to find a cure to the problem more than not. He's not just trying to fix the thing, you know? He wants things to be better. He tries to do things to make things better in his mind. That's his motivation.
Sure. And I guess some of that again goes back to how different writers interpret different characters because like the animated series Batman was very good at like showing he cared about people
Right. Yeah.
in a way that not every I would argue most interpretations I've seen don't do, which bugs me. I mean, it makes the animated series stand out a lot more, but yeah, it's something that I wish more writers and whatnot focused in on with him.
Yeah, because it's in a way it makes Superman, dare I say, more complex than most. Because having like he's dealing with a lot. Like you have a lot of fucked up shit going around you, and a lot of people doing fucked up things. But you refuse to just like be like, well, fuck it. We just punish them and leave it at that. That's all what it's all about. You do fuck something, you do fuck shit, you get fucked up, and you pay the consequences. Where again, his whole vibe is I'm trying to help make things better. Make things, make society better, make people better, help people. Save people, and show them how the world could be a better place. That's his motivation. Like the thing with going in and stopping the war. I remember you were telling me there was a comic book series where he went and he stopped the war and he like made a speech about like, yo, I need y'all to like quit this dumb shit and all that. So like that's his thing. He's like, nah, I'm not just here to just. I'm not even here just to save the day. I'm here to like make things better. Yeah.
It is. It is love. He's. Uh, like I said, I've just come to love this character so much. He's one of my. He's still not Wonder Woman, but he's pretty good.
You just get turned on by the savagery of her. That's all.
She's not just savage.
It's a sex
She's
thing
so
with you,
complex and interesting.
Wonder Woman. That's all. You just want her to like power drive you or something. But be honest.
Jesus.
uh, but yeah, man, I thought that movie did a great job of just like, I mean, look, we've literally just sat here talking to. I was like, we didn't even do like we spoiled certain aspects of the movie, but it wasn't like like I would say a traditional spoiler cast where you just like talk about all of the greatest moments of the greatest fights and stuff like that. And like if you think about it, we didn't necessarily focus on plot beats more than we focused on what those plot beats meant because there's so much that you can take from this movie in those moments, in those plot beats.
Yeah, its themes were again consistently throughout. That's why I rattled off a bunch of times he saved all those people and animals. Like those were completely different scenes throughout the whole movie, but like to me they just helped reinforce the same thing about who Clark is.
Yeah. And
Uh,
the way that he approached it himself, like he didn't shy away like from that. And like the one moment where he had that doubt, he had John and Martha to reinforce, like, yo, no, you are who you are. Don't ever forget that. Like, don't ever question that. This is who you are. Like, no matter what other people say.
Also, like since we kind of briefly touched on fighting and whatnot, I like that he couldn't just force his way, to solve any problem. Like some of it was just, Superman S strength where he was like being badass and strong and shit. But there were definitely moments where he had to like think about how to do a thing, like use his brain to because there's a thing in Superman comics too, right? He has the powers of a god essentially, but it's not like he can just punch his way out of any problem. He has to think about how to apply those powers to solve certain problems.
It's funny that you say that because and again, this is what I said to you last night, and this is why I wanted to do this podcast. It's like every time we find something to talk about or you say something, it triggers another memory. To your point, going back to that fight when you first see the Justice League, I'm not going to call them Justice Gang again from now on. It's the Justice League. You see them show up to help him fight that like creature, and when they show up, he addresses them and he's like, yo, let's find a way to subdue it so we can take it and figure out what this is and why it's the way it is. And Guy and them are like, whatever. And of course, they eventually kill it. And when he's like, yo, we could have just, subdued it. We didn't have to fucking kill it. And they're looking at him like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, dude, we we took care of the situation. End the story. But his whole thinking is like, yo, How can we figure out why this thing it is and what it is, so that next time if we see this, we can fucking take care of it a certain way. Like he's thinking about a bigger picture than just completing a task. It's more than just a task to him.
The way Mr. Terrific was just so annoyed when he pulled up. It's like, what's going on? What's the situation? And then, like you said, Superman explains, like, yeah, I could take him down, but like, how can I save him?
Yeah,
Like,
it's like the fuck. Like,
Terrific, are you fucking serious, man? Like, but it's perfectly Clark.
yeah,
And I guess that has always shown something about like the way morality is handled in comics. Not just comics, but like it's this rule like people don't kill unless it's like a monster. Then for some reason that doesn't count, or a robot or whatever. Like
right,
there's always that thing where like they can kind of skirt the edge by saying, well, that wasn't a person, so it's fine.
right.
But
But
Superman doesn't even play that game.
with situations where it is a person, like take it to real life. If we think it's bad, just crush it.
Yeah, that shit was funny. I was a little mad at them for killing him, but after Superman said that, I was like, yeah, we should save him. I was like, come
Yeah,
on,
it was
Terrific.
kind of
They'll be.
disappointing that they didn't try. They weren't even trying. Because again, when he says it, what was the first thing to just take his eyes out and get rid of this thing? Like they just totally ignored him. His whole soliloquy about that.
He was like, bro, if we needed to kill it, I could have at least done it humanely. Like,
Right,
like
exactly. It was like we at least humanely did it, like euthanize it. So hey, like, and they're just looking at him like motherfucker, like you soft punk bitch, like whatever.
all different kinds in this universe.
Yeah. One of the last thing I would like to touch on before we go is like, again, going back to like how we can talk about politics is they reinforced my whole thing about how like a lot of the things involving stuff like with the country, Lois's conversation about it, and like just in general with like the way you handle things in the world being more gray than black and white, like people like to think. It's like when you get to the end, they save like the country, Superman saves the world, and you see the politician with flag. It's like, well, now I guess metahumans make up the rules as to how we handle things now, huh? And you see Flag gets this look on his face like, because Flag had always been a proponent of, yeah, Superman is doing the right thing. Like, I get it. Like, you're worried, but they're also helping us avoid certain things and stuff like that. And, like, just the idea of, like, how fearful people are of, like, well, if we let metahumans do everything, then are they going to try to take over? Like, that fear, like, how we always act, even though, like, at no point somebody's shown that that's what they want to do. Like, as soon as they heard the video from his parents in full, everybody was like, yep, we need to take this motherfucker down. No questions. Like, outside of Flag, like, are we sure? Everybody was like, nope, see, yep, let's just do this. And then, like, the end, when they save things and do things beyond what the government would normally do or could do, it was like, yep, they're going to take over from us. Like, the fear. It's like, it was a perfect example of, like, how we look at the world in reality and how fucked up it is. And why there's that gray in the world, partially because not only because it's not as simple as you think, but because people make things more complicated than they need to be as well, out of fear.
Hmm. I guess if I could maybe defend the stance of somebody like Flag a little bit too. I do think I can see why it is concerning, right? Like, oh, why did Superman get to make this decision? Because he's stronger than you, right? Like, this is no
Yeah, and I
authority
understood.
vested in him,
That's the
really.
thing. I totally understood the guy who was talking to Flag's point about that, because it's like, yeah, but it touched on the whole how certain people, and I think it also set up the precedence for future stuff in movies for conflict, because people do have this idea of like, they have an idea of how they think things should be, but when there's something that can challenge or at least introduce another way of doing things, people don't react well. It's the whole change thing. Like, yeah, this is like, instead of thinking, okay, how can we coexist? Because there are things. These metahumans are going to do what they're going to do. They're going to try to stop certain things. Instead of thinking, how can we coexist? Everybody's first thought is, how can we stop this? And we see it all the time in today's world. Instead of thinking about things like, hell, okay, people are homosexual. Instead of thinking about, okay, how can we as heterosexuals just coexist? People are so focused on like, no, we can't. This is gonna ruin heterosexuality. This is gonna ruin society. They're gonna force our kids to be gay and shit like that. It's like this huge reaction due to fear that this thing is looking to take over and dominate. It's the same thing with racists. The same thing with when women got to be in positions of power and things. It's like the reaction is like, okay, this is something that we need to adapt to and learn how to coexist with. It goes from that to like, oh shit, this is going to get rid of me or what I believe in or us. How do we stop this? It's always the like extreme, which is it's crazy.
To anyone listening, by the way, I was not steel manning the decision of like killing all metahumans or anything like that. I was just like, I'm thinking of stories like Kingdom Come, where it's like, yeah, like one wishes to live in a society, and societies have like rules, and rules require that like not one person can just say fuck it and then just flip everything on its head. I guess in real life we see some of that. I'll stay away from the politics, but like, yeah, like there's a certain predictability and stability in society that just goes out the window when you have a person like Superman or any powerful metahuman, I guess, that can just say, I don't agree, and then like take your whole government and like pile drive it into the ground. Like, and I guess as far as how it feeds into future stories, maybe that'll be how Waller, takes up some prominence. I find it, I guess, an interesting way to start up this universe. Have Superman be the one who kind of starts off this conflict.
Yeah, I,
I don't know
I
if
think
that,
that's what
yeah.
it is. I think that's one of the things I think people are gonna miss. So this is probably setting up future things to, like again, it may be some more modern things because I've never read any comic book stories like that, but I'm sure there have been comic book storylines where in DC that there have been this kind of conflict when it comes to metahumans and general humans. Because again, Lex was that perfect, you know, focus point of that whole thing with his speech about how like you're going to kill humanity by being better than us and showing us that we don't matter anymore. Basically, like we're not because in his mind it's like no, it again mirrors and things that I think a lot of people are going to miss on the extreme right side. It's like yeah, Lex is you. He's that person who sees something different and immediately thinks about all the ways that he would go about taking over if he were that, and
Okay.
then transfers that into like motivation to destroy that thing because he thinks they'll do what he's going to do to them. Yeah.
I can't believe I haven't said more about Lex. I guess because I've been so focused on Superman, but like, his character is done so perfectly. This idea that Superman, like what Superman represents, is like the degradation of humanity. Superman's very existence undermines human achievement, and he can't stand. I'm not saying that that idea is true, but like that is how he sees Superman, and so he can't fucking stand him. Because, and you see this in some books. Like, look, were it not for Superman, Lex would probably be like that guy on Earth, right? He's the arguably the smartest person on Earth, the most powerful and rich and all this. But because Superman exists, he'll never be tip top of the mountain. You know what I mean? And he just can't deal with this motherfucker. There is a pure, simple hatred he has for Superman, and it motivates every. The motherfucker made like cyborg monkeys to like post hateful shit on the internet for like
Right. But to the point,
expert
like
hater.
to the point I said to you as well, is like he also couldn't not feed his own ego because yeah, his whole focus was like the whole thing about Superman being a threat to humanity and like human achievement and all of that, but he also was still the same. He's a very self-serving motherfucker by like using the opportunity of that, like using that war as a quote unquote distraction to get a Superman to also make a come up and get him, his own country, benefit his business by having like access to certain resources and things like that. So it was like, again, it's mirroring reality because there's certain elements, certain people, of a certain hue that may look like a certain fruit by the same name that throws out all this jargon about how all these things are threats and how what he's doing is to, you know, make sure they don't take over and get rid of, you know, they don't, stand in the way of what's really American. But at the same time, he's also selling like Bitcoin and giving away money to his friends and, embezzling the funds and stuff like that. While he does, quote unquote, the Lord's work to ensure that, certain things are made great again. I
Jesus.
tried to not say. I tried to not say it this time. I'm trying to be nicer at the end and just not blatantly say it, and maybe save that for the political podcast if we come back and do that.
He has that general message about humanity, but yes, it always. I'm talking about Lex, to be clear. It always circles back around to his own ego and his own envy.
And his own agenda, things that'll benefit him. Yeah,
Yeah, they again they nailed so many of these characters so well. I mean, like I said, all these characters have like different interpretations, different writers have touched them over the years, but like they feel very recognizably like themselves for the most part throughout the movie.
definitely. They definitely did. Um, but yeah, it was a great movie. Loved the cameos that they had again. You got to see Maxwell Lord show up again. It's like, hey, he's the Maxwell Lord. I guess we all knew and loved. You got to see Peacemaker make an appearance, which I thought was perfect too because it reminded me the fact that he has an issue with Superman anyway. I don't know if you remember how he would like talk shit about Superman in Suicide Squad and in the show.
He was talking shit about all of them. He's a hater.
Like he doesn't like any of them. So it was like perfect to see him come up for the show and like take a jab at Superman after the whole thing with his parents. Um, uh, yeah, that movie was great.
You know, it doesn't
Oh,
feel
good.
as weird or confusing that some of the stuff before this movie is still canon. I mean, there's not that much of it, but like Peacemaker still being canon is like, yeah, I guess it works fine. I was always kind of on the fence about like not doing a complete clean universe reboot, but even back then I was like, well, Peacemaker was never that deeply tied in to the other shit other than like a scene at the end of the season.
Yeah, I
So I
was
was like,
about
you
to
could
say
probably get
like
away with it.
that would be the one thing that like would be, but those characters are going to exist in the universe, just not in that form. You know, so it's not as bad as you think because they didn't really do much to distinguish them as a part, as not being a part of that universe, other than look like the people who were in those movies. Yeah.
Right. I think if you try to if and when you try to do with somebody like say Margot Robbie, if you're gonna want to keep her as Harley Quinn, that might be a little weirder. But like Peacemaker was off enough into its own thing that I think you could get away with smuggling it into the new continuity. Like I said again, comic book continuity is fucking weird. So like
No, no.
it's
And
actually kind of true to comics.
again, to Gunn's credit, he set up Superman in a world that already exists. So, if the world already exists, yeah, there's certain things that exist. That means, the Flash and Aquaman do exist. So, what's the problem? Other than, again, how they look when they show up. Because they're going to show up probably as, they're going to definitely show up as different people. But, yeah, they're supposed to exist in this world.
Right, but they won't be like the Snyderverse version is all I
Yeah,
meant with them.
that's what I'm saying. It's like they're just not gonna look, and like we didn't get the Snyderverse. We just got like them showing up and him making the smart comment, and that was it. Like we didn't get anything out of that moment. It wasn't like they had like any real interaction or involvement in the Peacemaker show, other than they just showed up.
Yeah, 5 second cameo at the end to make some goofy ass remark.
Yeah,
Yeah, all that to say, like the transition has felt smooth, very smooth. Like, I was a little more worried about like how general uh, be able to get their brains around it, but they seem fine. So
yeah.
fuck it, keep going.
Yeah, so much so that we even accept the drunky hot Supergirl.
I accept it, I suppose. We had this discussion last night where I was like, for those listening, I was a little. Basically, the movie, the book, the Supergirl movie is based on Woman of Tomorrow. I really liked, and I have an emotional attachment to it, so I've been like kind of sensitive about how she's portrayed. But as we were talking about it last night, I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm the one who's kind of off. Maybe she is kind of accurate to that book. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. Like I'm coming around. For those who ever, it's a Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King and Bill Quisevely. It's a short story, like 12 issues or something. Love that book. Um, I'm remaining positive about it. I can't wait to see it. But I'm definitely more emotionally invested. I wanted the Superman movie to succeed because of what it meant for the whole franchise. I want the Supergirl movie to succeed because I actually care about the Supergirl movie.
And yeah, we'll see how it works that because I'm assuming Superman's going to be in there in some form. So,
Superman's gonna what?
be in the Supergirl movie in some form.
I don't know, maybe cameos. He definitely wasn't in the book at all.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying play a significant role, but I'm sure he'll show up at some
Yeah,
point.
some flashback where he's like, behave yourself or some shit.
Right.
Like, but yeah, it also helped, give context to the dog's behavior too and all that. So I don't know, it's fun.
Yeah.
I'm hyped to see it. And this movie, like I said, aside from just being a great Superman movie, it gave me a lot of hope for the overarching universe that I was not having before. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, no. Definitely. I'm excited to see more of his stuff coming. Like again, great job. You got me somewhat of a fan of someone I hated. So definitely are doing a good thing, James Gunn.
So far, we got Creature Commandos, Superman. Next up, Peacemaker, Lanterns, and Supergirl.
Yeah. So yeah.
And we've had a number of announcements and stuff since then. They're doing a lot of shit.
Yeah, people are excited about DC Universe again, which is a good thing.
Hopefully, Fantastic Four. Who am
I've
I kidding? I was
seen
gonna say
people
hope.
say the early reviews are looking good. So hey,
They're looking what?
the early reviews are looking good.
Uh, eh, hopefully. I almost feel like it doesn't matter. I feel like there's some segment of the fan base that's used to being a little toxic no matter what.
Oh no, they got again. Silver Surfer alone is going to take user scores on Rotten Tomatoes. So yeah.
But yeah, Superman. Loved it.
Yeah.
As a comic book nerd, loved it. Whatever little changes that bug me don't bug me that much.
Yeah, no,
Great shit.
it was a solid movie. Solid movie. And I'm looking forward to the Mr. Terrific film as well.
Bruh.
Because you know it's coming. You know it's coming. If not a movie, there's going to be a Mr. Terrific show. I can guarantee you. Like,
Yeah, maybe something centered around him. They've announced a lot too. Like I've seen interviews with Gunn here and there where people like keep asking like, Flash, Aquaman, blah blah blah. And every time I see people do that, I'm like, bruh, he announced like 10, 15 projects. Like are y'all not that he couldn't, shift gears and do that, but I was like, we actually know a lot of what's coming, so
yeah. Nah, it's going to be cool. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be cool. Definitely. And I'm here for it.
I think I left that Clayface thing out of the list. That's supposed to be sooner than some of the other things. But yeah, variety. That's the name of the game to me. I loved Superman. Now give me something completely different.
Yeah. No, definitely. All right, let's wrap this up. So we will be doing a podcast. I'm booking it now. We're doing a podcast on Fantastic Four. I plan on seeing it on the 24th, this Thursday. What do you plan on seeing it?
When's it come out? You said Thursday?
25th. No, well, I have like an in to see it the day before it officially released. So.
I guess I didn't know it was coming out this week. Holy
So it
shit.
could be the 24th for some places. There probably are some venues like the one I'm going to that can get it on that Thursday, but the official release date is Friday the 25th.
Yeah, there's some places here
Yeah.
seen it the 24th. Maybe I'll do the same actually.
And yeah, it's crazy that we're getting these two things so close together. Um, and Fantastic Four is good. I think this will be the first time in a long time that we've had like a DC and Marvel. Actually, this will probably be the first time in modern history that we've had a DC and Marvel movie come out that everybody really likes. Actually, it'll be multiple because I heard Thunderbolts got good reviews, even if it didn't make a lot of money. So
I liked it, and I wish we would. I'm not saying the money made isn't important, but I do kind of wish we'd chill. Like too much of the fan base is too interested in like performance metrics now.
yeah, I know. Like movies
Too,
can't just be good.
I've definitely seen like some of the MCU movies where like the Marvels, for example, where they just say, "Oh, the movie only made such and such." Like the number of people talking about performance metrics and not one of them actually having seen the movie or have an opinion on whether it's good or not. Yeah, but yeah, I'll see it probably this. It must be this week, probably Thursday. We'll see.
Yep. Well, yeah. I guess we'll see you guys later this week.
Saturday by the latest. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see you next Sunday for another Spoilercast, I guess, people. So, yeah. All right, thank you to everybody who came through, watched. Um, Please do check the links below, especially the Extra Life link. We are raising money for children's hospitals for the Children's Miracle Network, and we'd appreciate it if you guys would donate to that. Um, be
You're putting
very
this on
grateful.
YouTube, right?
Yes, it's going to be on YouTube too, so they will be hearing it
Okay.
there
I'll
as
try to
well.
comment
Um,
with links to some of the books I referenced during this.
okay,
Get some of you
so
nerds
yeah,
into it.
if you want to learn more, Cardiac will be more than happy. In fact, more importantly, please go to his Twitch page um, and follow because Cardiac does actually do comic book reads. He'll play games, but he'll also take a moment to go and do comic book reads, go over some comic book history, talk about things like what we did in this podcast, reference you to some sources as well. So if you're into comic books or you want to learn, definitely check out his Twitch page, follow, check it to his streams, and yeah, you'll be able to have a deep dive into comic books. He has great discussions. He's actually taught me a lot since I've stopped reading comic books. So it's definitely worth checking him out if you can. But,
Thank you, thank you.
but yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this. Again, appreciate you guys watching. Please come back for the next one. We're gonna try to get back into doing the podcast regularly. Now that I have my own place and I have my setup back, I feel like I'm, you know, ready to get back into the fold, into content creating, and definitely doing things like this is one of the big things that I want to put out for you guys. So, hope you enjoy it. Any parting words for the people? Good, sir.
Uh, be nicer on the internet, one, and two, pick up a comic and read them, man. They're not that hard to get into. If you were able to get into this Superman movie not knowing shit about anybody in it, you can get into a comic book about as easily.
Yes, definitely do that. Comic books are cool. Again, sorry, batting somebody really quick. But again, it's like, yeah, uh, comic books can be silly. They can do like weird things, but you know they're fun, and they take you. They can teach you some things. They can make you think about some things as well, and they're a good way to escape.
One last comment on that point. I've never really said this, but a big shout out to Gunn and whoever was in charge of the marketing because something that they did that like the MCU never does, and even the previous DC movies never do, is they've really included the books in a strong way in the marketing. So when he announced all the movies he was doing, he would like reference specific books by name. When you're looking for some of the promo material for this movie, again, you see like books are referenced by name. The I don't know where he posted it, but he had posted this like list of like books he would recommend to read before going into this movie if you were into it. I had ignored it because I didn't want any spoilers or anything, but I looked it up after where he posted, and I had read like three or four of them. Uh, it's it's something I've complained about for years with these movies where they don't credit and reference the source material so people can like get into comics. But credit to Gunn or whoever was in charge, they always mixed it in. I mean, shit, that's why I ended up reading that Supergirl book because he referenced it by name, and so I'd heard of it.
Yeah,
And then now it's like one of my favorite books. So I hope they continue to do that with their future projects. A little credit there at the end.
yeah, definitely. So once this is posted, you'll see all that stuff up on my YouTube channel, which you guys can follow. Again, all these links are in the page in the description, all that good stuff. So you'll be able to check it out, and you'll see me post it on Twitter, Blue Sky, and other platforms as well. So just keep an eye out for that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you. Appreciate you guys listening. And we will see you for the next podcast. You'll also see me in a couple of days streaming some craziness and raising money for Extra Life. All right, you guys have a good one. Peace.